8 days, 9 hours, 57 minutes, and 10 seconds till this very exciting LSU 2023 baseball season kicks off. And let's talk to the architect, the man who has created this behemoth that is gaining all this hype, Coach Jay Johnson. Coach, what's going on, man? Thank you for coming on this morning.
How you guys doing? Good to talk to you again.
We're doing great, Coach, because, again, in 8 days, 9 hours, 56 minutes, and 46 seconds, the new LSU baseball season starts, and it is going to be fantastic. At least it certainly feels that way. What's the vibe around the team right now? Is starting to chomp at the bit a bit?
Yeah, you throw that clock on me like that. I don't know if I have enough time to talk to you guys, but we're getting there. These players have been great in their focus, and I think really work on managing their focus and very human nature to want to just get to the game and opening night, and our players are certainly excited about that. But got to give them credit; they're focusing every day on improvement on a daily basis, and it's been a good prep for the season so far.
Well, it's funny. Okay, so again, I know that you're busy like 24/7, recruiting, scouting, coaching, et cetera, developing. When you say that clock makes you feel like you don't have enough time, what are the major action items left? Like at this point in the game, what are the main things you're looking to do over this next week before the season kicks off?
Yeah, I think this next weekend coming up will kind of simulate next weekend series exactly as is, like pregame BP, stop the clock, sit down while the other team takes BP, take an actual infield, outfield. We'll have our game personnel staff in here all weekend running the scoreboard, running the walk-up music, all of those types of things to try to get some type of feel like it's a real game. And, work on some different combinations against left-handed pitchers, right-handed pitchers, mixing guys in, those types of things. And really just try to stimulate next weekend as best we can this weekend. We kind of call it a game zero weekend is what we call it. And hopefully that'll help us be better prepared when the Bulls start flying next week.
Coach, how many decisions do you have to make as far as lineup and rotation and bullpen? Like, how close are you? Because I know it's going to change throughout the season, but how close are you to having a good feel of how you're going to at least open the season?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It's a starting point is what it is. It's definitely not a finishing point. I think when you have a good roster, you don't want to close yourself in or close yourself off to what your best team is. And so, the lineup is kind of day to day. I do feel like I have a lot more clarity today than I did maybe like 10 days ago based on some things that I've seen, at least in terms of how we're going to start out. I think there's a good core of probably 5 players that will probably start out as everyday players, and then the other 4 spots will be kind of mix and match type deal. Paul Skeens obviously is going to pitch opening night. We feel good about that. And then there's really 5 other guys. And so with Paul, a total of 6 that we believe can start. And, we got a tournament weeks 2 and week 3. So some of that will be based on matching up and those types of things. I think I have a good core of who our 9 top arms are. And so I feel pretty good about it. But we still got some work to do. And some of that work will be based on the team that we play, the day that it is, who's hot, who's not, matchup type of day, defense versus offense. So it'll sort out all the way through the year. And I think that's really important that we don't close ourselves off to the good options that we have. And so we'll look at it at every day and make the right decisions for the team to win.
Yeah, and if you want to go get a good first look at this number 1 ranked baseball team, Friday at 5, Saturday at 1:30, and Sunday at 12:30. There will be scrimmages that are free and open to the public. The gates open 15 minutes before those times. Again, 5 on Friday, 1:30 Saturday, 12:30 Sunday. There will be a free autograph session after the Sunday scrimmage as well if you want to bring the kids out. And a great little way to spend the day before you go and watch the Super Bowl for sure. Coach, we talked to Kendall Rogers the other day about this team, and I think he came out I think it was a fall ball that he came out to. And one of the things that he said he was struck by was despite the fact that there are so many great players on this roster, right? So much potential ego on this roster that there was an impressive amount of buy-in and focus and and leadership, and like people seem to be going about their business the correct way, and there seemed to be a competitive and hungry atmosphere despite all the success that a lot of these guys have had. I guess have you seen that? Like has there been problems managing all of these great personalities and getting them to kind of give up themselves for the greater good of the team?
I think it's just like baseball improvement. You have to be intentional about it. I think a lot of coaches will talk about culture. I don't like to talk about it a whole lot. I like to do it and say these are the things that we need to do. And what this team needs to do is have a strong mindset, no complacency, no discouragement over failure or adversity, because that's coming. We play a hellacious schedule. Like, we're going to have to respond to adversity well.
Yeah.
The next thing we talked about is being selfless. And, what I did to give them an example was I pointed to the national championship teams that LSU has had. And there's been older players who started the year before who had gotten replaced by a more talented player on like another championship team. And they seem to handle that very, very well. There's young players that had to wait their turn, and they seem to handle that very well. So if you want to achieve something great, there's no way we can accomplish that if we don't place the needs of the team above our own. And that's like to a man. So we've been working hard at that, being intentional. We have better player leadership than most teams that I've coached. A lot of credit to Dylan Cruz, a lot of credit to Paul Skeens. Those guys are kind of the ones taking the bull by the horns on that. And those guys are so solid in every way that they command the respect of their teammates. And if they say, hey, this is how we're going to do things around here, really makes it a powerful example for players to follow.
Coach, we always talk about it on the football side of things with the transfer portal. You bring in new bodies. How's the chemistry going to work? You learn behavior at the school you were at before. Then you come into a new situation. Obviously, you brought in a lot of talent through the transfer portal to your team this year. How's that transaction? Like, how has the transition been for that to bring in those new players and kind of interact with the players that were already here?
Well, I think the way I look at it is the returning players were recruited to come back as well, or asked to come back. Like there's a lot of guys that were here that aren't here anymore, and that's by design. That's not by default. And with that being said, the guys that are here were chosen based on their ability and their character. And character is a very foundational part of how we're building the program. And so those guys know the expectations, and now it's kind of like all that they know. And then you look at the new players, we provide something for them that they were looking for. A lot of it has to do with development. Paul Skeens has a chance to pitch with Wes Johnson as his pitching coach. Tommy White has a chance to develop as a third baseman or infielder and play in one of or next to a couple of the better offensive players in college baseball. Thatcher Hurd, same thing as Paul Skeens. Christian Little, same thing. So Ben DePaul, we needed an infield help, so we were able to provide those guys something they were looking for. And if I didn't believe they passed the character test that we kind of put them through, or kind of our evaluation of that, and wouldn't fit into the team dynamic, we wouldn't have brought them here. So, we haven't faced any adversity yet, and that's where these questions you guys are asking me will get tested. But I think for today, we're in a good place.
Talking to LSU head baseball coach Jay Johnson, who has put together just an unreal roster heading into this baseball season. What it's resulted in, Coach, is every preseason poll basically having y'all number one in the country. Like an incredibly competitive SEC, right? Where, what would you say, Jake? Arkansas is 8th in the country and 6th in the SEC?
In preseason polls, yeah. 6 of the top 8 teams.
I mean, it's wild. And in a way, it's very validating. It's a huge, commendation on what you've done on the recruiting trail, Coach. But how do you handle the expectations? And not just like fan expectations, but player expectations. The fact that other teams are going to put that target on your back. How do you approach that with your team?
I think you just run right towards it, I think, and you start throwing punches, and not literally throwing punches, but you guys know what I mean. You guys know what I mean.
Don't be scared. Don't shy away from it. Acknowledge it and let's just do it.
Yeah, I think regardless of what you're ranked, we're in the one baseball league in the country. If there's any fear, any, anxiety, any, any of these types of things or any hesitation, you're going to get your lunch handed to you. And like, I was looking at it, like, I think like 12 of our 30 league games are against teams ranked in the top 7. So it's like, I mean, it doesn't really matter. So we got to focus. We got to focus on the play. I think the number one thing's great for building the program. Like, I want to be here for a long time, and it's definitely helped us continue to, attract really good players in future recruiting classes. I think we can use it as an advantage. Like, if we take care of our fundamentals, our competitiveness, our attention to detail, those types of things, you can remind teams that we're very talented, and you can create a mental advantage that way too. So that's on our players to show up ready to play, and on our staff to help get them ready to play, and then focus on the play itself. And I don't think any of us have any. Nobody's going into this thing just like, hey, this is going to be given to us. We respect what it takes to win. We celebrate winning around here because winning is not easy, regardless of your ranking. And we're going to do the thing that we need to do to get as many of those outcomes as we can.
Coach, last year you joined us every single week here, and you were incredibly transparent, which we appreciated. And so I'm going to ask you this question, knowing you probably have a good answer for it. What's better this year compared to last year? Because last year, I think you played above expectations, but what going into this year as far as a position do you feel much more confident heading into the season than when you ended last season?
Yeah, I think the first one is we're going to have pitchers that can get through the lineup 2 or even 3 times.
Yeah.
So it can simplify some of those bullpen decisions. I think just the sheer depth of pitchers that have a chance to pitch in a major league someday is far greater. And again, I say that with great respect for how our guys pitched and navigated kind of an unusual plan that we put in front of them last year. It's just there's more talent on the mound. I think the defense will be dramatically improved. Jordan Thompson has worked his tail end off, and I think he's going to be one of the best defensive shortstops in college baseball this year. And I say that with zero hesitation. I just think the defense as a whole, I think the catching position from a defensive standpoint will be better. Offensively right now, to be honest with you, it's kind of hard to tell because our pitching is so much better that they're getting their rear end handed to them a little bit. And, so we're going to have to take tough at bats. I think we're going to have to be mentally strong to beat, some of the good pitching that we're going to face offensively. But there's certainly power there. Obviously Dylan's the best player in the country. Tommy White, Trey Morgan's got 1 billion at bats under his belt. And then there's just some versatility with, left-handed hitting, right-handed hitting. Like, we're going to be able to mix and match and hopefully slot some guys for some success on offense and go from there.
Coach, there was a story, and correct me if I have this wrong, that I think it was last week maybe, that you had a moment in the dugout after you had 6 straight strikeouts from your hitters, and you kind of went in there and kind of stopped the practice and had a word with them. Is that one factual and maybe kind of what you said to the team?
Well, it's actually not true. It was 9 strikeouts in a row. So.
Damn.
Yeah, no, I took advantage of a little bit of an opportunity there because, I want to say it was Chase Shores and then Bryce Collins, came out, and we literally went 9 up and 9 down with 9 strikeouts. And some of these pitches, if you were watching it, you're going like, man, these are pitches I watch on MLB Network, when they're talking about a guy punching out, guy after guy after guy, and like an outing where he goes 7 innings, 3 hits, 10 Ks and 1 run type thing.
Damn.
So the pitching was at very high level. I thought we had lost our focus a little bit. This was like using it as an example of like, hey, Friday night in the SEC, we can't afford to keep forcing our pitcher to go out there and throw up zeros, and we certainly can't do it if we're up and down in like a minute and a half.
Yeah.
That's not okay. And so it was good. Led into a good couple days of practice on Monday and Tuesday, and all of a sudden we started scoring some runs after that. I was like, I'd prefer not to yell at you, but I'm going to if it gets you to not swing a ball.
Yeah. Never let a good tragedy go to waste, dude, right?
That's right.
You had to
never waste a failure.
Yes,
That's
exactly. Right. There you go. LSU head baseball coach Jay Johnson. Again, if you want to check out the team this weekend, they'll be at the box all weekend long for some scrimmages. 5 p.m. Friday, 1:30 Saturday, 12:30 Sunday. Open to the public. Opens up 15 minutes before first pitch. And on Sunday, autographs after the game. Bring the kids. Coach Johnson, thank you so much, man.
All right, guys. Have a great day.
You have a great day as well, and we'll all have a great day in 8 days, 9 hours, 45 minutes, and 53 seconds.
He's one of my favorite people to catch up with because awesome. He's going to be transparent. There's not a lot of hiding from it. You don't get a lot of coach speak. It's like, hey, here's the situation. Here's what we got to do. Here's who needs to improve. Here's who has improved. Here's who's going to be in the lineup. Here's who's not going to be in the lineup, and here's why. I love that about him, and I think it's exactly what LSU needed last year. They played above expectations. I know they didn't get to Omaha, which is like the bare minimum goal. I mean, he'll tell you that. They have Omaha written as big as you can in their team meeting room.
Oh, do they really?
But they did have a year that we weren't expecting. They won some games we didn't think they would win. And now here's all the expectations. And it takes the right mentality from a head coach not to run from those. You don't try to hide everything. No, hey, here's what they think about you. Go prove them right.